In today's video, I'm reviewing LiTime's brand new 100 amp hour slim batteries. Now, when LiTime reached out asking if I wanted to test their brand new form factor, I was excited because I had the perfect project to install them in, right here in my enclosed trailer. Now, the floor space on my trailer is extremely valuable, and if you remember, my previous battery setup sat on the ground up near the front of the trailer, and whenever I wanted to load gear or equipment, it always got in the way. But after installing two of these slim batteries here on the wall, I've completely opened up usable space at the front of my trailer. This setup is a lot cleaner, it's safer, and now I even have more capacity than I did before. So why would someone choose this slim battery over a traditional form factor? Simple. It fits where normal batteries don't. Whether you're mounting it on the wall, tucking it inside a cabinet, sliding it under a seat, or trying to upgrade a cramped RV or trailer compartment, this design solves real-world space problems. Now, when it comes to the actual thickness of the battery, it's under 2.5 inches thick. They advertise EV grade cells inside, and it's also waterproof with an IP65 rating. Now, looking on their website, they list multiple installation options. Of course, I chose to mount mine to the wall, but you can see they have some pretty creative ways to mount the battery. Now, anybody who's familiar with my channel knows that before doing a permanent installation like this or recommending products to my viewers, I always like to do in-depth testing and a teardown. So I did do that testing and teardown on these batteries. So let's jump into that footage first to see how they performed, and then we'll go through how I installed this in my trailer. First, I completed a capacity test on the battery using my DC electronic load. I had it set to a 0.2C rate or 20 amps, and by the time the battery had shut off, I pulled a total of 102.5 amp hours or 1311 watt hours. So we did pull slightly over the full rated capacity of the battery at 102%. Now, I also tracked the voltage curve during this test just to make sure there wasn't any voltage sag, and you can see that the voltage curve is very flat throughout the entire test, which is good. Okay, so moving on to the next test, I've charged up the battery and now I want to know if it can handle 100 amps continuous for 15 minutes without shutting down. So we're going to connect it up to my SunGold Power 4000 watt low frequency inverter with a load of about 1280 watts or 100 amps. We'll be timing it with this stopwatch, and of course we'll be checking in with my clamp meter to make sure we stay at 100 amps throughout the entire test. Let's get started. Okay, so I've set up the 100 amp load on the battery. It's actually been going for almost 4 minutes now. And with my clamp meter here, you can see we're pulling right around 104.9 to 105 amps. So it'll be interesting if it'll let us run just a little bit over 100 amps for 15 minutes. So I'm gonna let the timer go. We'll come back after 15 minutes and see what's up. Okay, so it's actually been 16 minutes of running the 100 amp load. You can see on my clamp meter here, it's showing 101.5 amps. Now I just want to check the temperature to make sure everything's good, so let's go ahead and check it out with my thermal camera. Now if we look at the thermal images of the battery, you can see the battery is actually pretty cool. The warmest part was the positive conductor at 102.9 degrees Fahrenheit, and then zooming in on that a little bit more, you can see was the positive terminal at 105.2 degrees. So under max load, that's not too bad. It'll be interesting to see what conductors they use on the inside. Okay, so in my next test, I want to see if the battery has overcurrent protection. What happens if you pull too many amps from the battery? To test that out, I have my 1000 amp carbon pile load tester. Essentially, we can just turn up the amps to see when the BMS will shut off the load. Okay, so for the first test here, I'm going to pull 200 amps continuously just to see if the BMS will shut off. So I'll start the load, then we'll start the stopwatch, and we'll see how long it goes. So let's get it up to 200 amps, and then we'll start this. So you can see I'm pulling slightly over 200 amps. This is double the amount that the BMS is rated for. So hopefully it shuts off. Okay, it did shut off. Perfect. So around the 7 to 8 second mark, the BMS shut off. Okay, so after about 30 seconds or so, the battery turned itself back on automatically. So it's good news. You don't need some sort of charger to wake it back up. So in the next test, I want to see what happens as I just slowly ramp up the amperage. What amperage level is the BMS going to shut off? So let's go ahead and start this. And then we are just going to turn this up. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. Okay, so right around the 600 amp level, the BMS shut off. So it's been about 30 seconds from the previous test. You can see the battery is turned back on. That background noise is actually the fans for this battery tester. So what did we learn? Well, if you pull about 200 amps, it'll shut off after about 8 seconds. And then if you ramp up the amperage, it'll go all the way up to 600 amps before the BMS shuts off. So the BMS does have overcurrent protection. Now this battery is also advertised to have low temperature charging protection. So in order to test that out, I've had the battery in my Iceco VL60 fridge for over 24 hours. You can see the internal temperature of the fridge during this test was around 28 degrees. So it should activate the low temperature charging protection. So with the battery removed from the fridge, I connected up my adjustable power supply, and you can see that it's not charging, so low temperature charging protection is functional on the battery. Now just to confirm the battery would start charging as it warmed up, I left it out for about 45 minutes at room temperature and it did resume charging as normal. Now I'm hoping the teardown process is going to be fairly simple. It's a metal box with a lid, and there's a bunch of screws that hold on the lid. So let's take out the screws and see if it pops off. Okay, so that was fairly simple. I used my impact and removed all the screws around the top. You can see the screws over there. And this is the first time I'm taking off the lids, so let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. Just set this here. Okay, so it looks like we have the 4 cells laid out. We have what looks to be a series jumper here, main negative connection, main positive connection, and the BMS. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the BMS. I've never seen a LiTime branded BMS. This is model number ZYSW4S100A, signifying 100 amp. It's listed for 100 amp charge, 100 amp discharge. It does have a heavy duty heatsink on the top, and you'll notice they are using soldered connections here. Would have liked to see screw terminals there, but it looks like they are soldered very well on each side here. As for the conductors, it looks like they're using 3 10-gauge wires, so 3 10-gauge wires going through each side of the BMS. And for the positive conductor, it feels fairly large. I'd say this is probably a 4 or 6-gauge cable. Now zooming out a bit, let's take a look at the actual cells and how they're organized. So you have 4 cells that are wired together in series. You have this jumper here using ring terminals, and they are glued in place. And same with these connections here, they do have a bunch of glue on each of the ring terminals. Now I do see 2 different temperature sensors. There's one here glued to the cell and another one here glued to the cell. And the low temperature charging protection did work as seen earlier in the testing. Now as for the balance leads, they are routed between the cells and they do appear to be organized fairly well. They're taped into place. Now these metal plates here actually hold the cells in place. There's some screws on each one of these. So there's 4 screws on each side and they do seem very secure. What I'm hoping is that I can remove one of these plates and actually remove the cell so we can take a look at what batteries they're using inside. So I very carefully removed 2 of the cells out of the case. You have to be extremely careful because this is a metal case and the batteries could easily short out if you touch the edge. So I carefully removed the cells. They are using aluminum welded bus bars here. They do have the expansion joint. And they had this shield on top to keep you from, touching the metal to the case. Now, let's see if I can take a closer look at the QR codes. They do appear to be new batteries. Let's see if we can get some information on the cells. Now up on the screen, you're going to see 2 of the QR codes that I tried to scan. Unfortunately, my lithium iron phosphate battery app could not find where these cells were manufactured or when. So if you have a way to look up these cells and you find that information, make sure you leave a comment down below, but they do appear to be new cells. Okay, so I have everything put back together and connected up. I did verify with a voltmeter on the positive and negative terminals. I did get 13.3 volts. So after connecting everything up, it is powered back on. All I have to do is put the lid back on, which would be fairly simple. Now I will say this is a super unique battery design and the build quality is very impressive. So after completing testing on the batteries and doing the teardown, I was happy with the performance and build quality. So I decided to move forward with installing these batteries here in my trailer. Now, if you're familiar with an enclosed trailer, the walls are not very structural. They usually have a thin wall OSB. And so there were a couple things I had to do in order to mount these to the wall securely because each one of these batteries weighs a little bit over 30 pounds. So in order to add a bit of strength to the walls, I purchased a 4x8 sheet of 1/2-inch plywood, which I cut to size and basically screwed to the walls. I then painted it so it would match the rest of the trailer, and now with this in place, I was ready to install the batteries. Now installing each of these batteries is fairly simple because LiTime includes really good instructions and they have the mounting hardware and brackets in the box. you get 4 different brackets, and each battery has 7 mounting locations. I chose this mounting location, this one, and then the final one is between the 2 terminals right there. Now, hanging the battery is fairly simple. I did it by myself. Basically, I held the battery in place, I marked the 2 top locations, drilled them out, and then screwed the battery in. And then while those 2 were there, I basically installed the other 2 screws, and it really secured the battery down. And then I repeated the process on the second battery. Now, these slim batteries actually support both parallel and series connections, so whether you have a 12 volt, 24 volt, or 48 volt system, you can wire these batteries together accordingly to match that system voltage. Now, because I have a 12 volt system here in my trailer, I have wired both these together in parallel using these bus bars. So I have 2 150 amp fuses off the positive bus bar, and I'm using 1/0 cable here, which is good for 150 amps continuous. Now, because these batteries are wired together in parallel, I was always taught that if you want them to share the load equally, they need to have the same size conductor and the same length of conductor. So some of you may be wondering, well, why do you have all this extra length in these wires? Why didn't you just cut them to the exact length needed? Well, in order to have the same resistance, they are all this exact same length and size of wire, so the batteries can share the load equally. Is that absolutely necessary? I'm not sure. You guys will have to let me know what you think down in the comments section. Now, after going through the full install of these batteries and bus bars, my only complaint is that the size of the ring terminals on the batteries are 1/4 inch. And so when you're using heavy duty wire like this with these 150 amp fuses, everything is in 5/16. So I could not find 1/0 wire that would go to 1/4 inch terminals on one end and 5/16 on the other. So I had to purchase cables. I had to cut off the 5/16 ends and then recrimp on 1/4 inch to make these connections. The other downside with the 1/4 inch connections is that these 150 amp terminal fuses use 5/16. So I would have preferred to have them installed on the positive terminal directly, but because they're 1/4 inch, I had to install those here on the bus bar instead. It's not a deal breaker, but it's always best to have the fuse as close as you can to the battery itself. So that's basically the changes with my setup, at least the new changes with these batteries and the bus bars. Everything else is still the same. I still have the 300 watts of solar panels on the roof. I have 10 gauge wire that comes through the roof down the wall through a 30 amp DC breaker or DC disconnect. Then it goes into the PV input of the 40 amp charge controller. Now, because it's a 40 amp charge controller, I am using 8 gauge wire coming out of that into a 40 amp DC breaker, which is connected to the bus bars. Now, to power the fans and lights and anything else that I want to power in this trailer with 12 volts, I do have this distribution block here. Now, to power that, it's a very simple connection. I have 6 gauge wire coming from both of these bus bars straight into the distribution panel. I do plan to add more DC connections to power a 12 volt fridge and maybe a diesel heater. And so I'm thinking about putting some sort of DC panel over here. Now, what about the price on these new 100 amp hour slim batteries? If you check out LiTime's website, you can see the price is fairly high. This is a brand new product, and it's different because it's fully encased in metal. It's not just placed in a plastic box like their other lithium iron phosphate batteries. So if you're looking for a battery that's super heavy duty and it has this very unique form factor, you are going to have to pay more for it. Now, I will say LiTime has provided my viewers with a 10% off discount code that's valid on their website. I'll include that down in the video description. You can see that it does take 10% off the price. Now, guys, I think it's really exciting to see new battery form factors come to market like this. This is the first option that I've seen that's a wall mountable version, and I love that it's encased in metal. Now, it does add to the cost, but it feels extremely durable. Now, if you guys are looking for a battery in this similar form factor to mount, in a cabinet or under a seat or in a trailer like this, I will include the link to this down in the video description if you guys are interested. And I'll also include some of the other parts that I used to put this system together. You'll have to let me know what you think about my trailer build and how it's coming together. I still have to add a little bit more for some sort of distribution box, so I can power those other 12 volt loads that I want. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and checking out the video. Hopefully we'll see you guys in the next one.